This is me quadplex, and in today's video we're going to be building the bugger. So the material we're going to be using for this quadplex is material that I had left over from a previous rack. Now let me tell you this right now, that rack pales in comparison to the sexy trio of racks that we built together. Well, we only built one, but there's a sexy trio of them in my basement. How many people can say there's a sexy set of triplets in their basement, right? Now let's quickly talk about the size of the enclosure, because as always, size always matters. The unit itself is going to end up being about 46 inches wide, 24 inches deep, and I believe it's 80 inches high. That's including the wheels that are going to be going under the bottom of this thing, of course. So it's a behemoth of an enclosure, to put it that way. It's Gizmo's enclosure. Add an extra 2 feet and add a lot more weight, which we will find out later. I shouldn't have built this as one solid unit. Man, that sucked to get it into the basement. Let me tell you, that fucking sucked. Now, I can't remember the exact measurement of the enclosures that the animals are going to be having access to, because the insulation and everything that we're going to be using to make this enclosure is going to reduce it. But I do know that each enclosure, each one of the 4, is going to come out to 80 gallons. Once the entirety of the thing is complete, each individual enclosure's volume that is accessible to the animal is 80 gallons. Okay, we're back in the shop. It's a little bit more cluttered than it was when we filmed the last videos. So I've really only got this section now isolated for me to be able to build in. The rest of it's kind of taken. So, as I was saying, I have a bunch of material over there that I used for a rack previously, like 2 years ago. And these holes here were where some threaded rod went through. Then there'd be a washer either side, and then a nut on each side. And then I'd tighten it. It did the job. It wasn't ideal because it shakes quite a bit. It's not very structurally sound. So the first thing I've got to do is trim all these boards down, because I can't really use these holes anymore. So I'm going to cut as close to those holes as I can along this side. And there's the same thing on that side. As close to those holes brings me to about 45 inches. I just need to make sure that they're all about the same size. So similar to what we've done previously on the channel now, I'm going to be somewhat watching this alongside you, because as I said previously in a previous video, how many times am I going to say the word previous? You can tell I don't script because I keep resorting to the same bloody words. Previous. All right, I'm not going to use that for the rest of the video. I'm going to be watching this kind of alongside you, kind of commenting alongside the build itself to give you a bit more explanation. But during the building portion, like the production portion, I just want to get it done. I'm not really looking to talk to you about the specifics, because it would take too long and most of you don't care. This is a building channel, but it's a reptile building channel, right? I'm not really showing you how to build things on this channel. I'm more or less showing you, hey, look what I built. Maybe it'll change. Let me know in the comments if you guys want a little bit more instruction onto how to build things. I doubt it, but let me know. So starting off with removing the wheels from the previous shelf that was at the bottom of the previous rack. And I said I was going to use the word previous, and I've done it twice now. We're just going to eradicate that rule because it turns out I'm struggling with it. But the previous rack, the rack that I had before, that you guys have not seen, which was 2 years ago, that rack, the bottom shelf was on wheels, because wheels make everything easier. The cavemen even knew that. So obviously we're going to take the wheels off, because my saw's not really engineered to be cutting through wheels like that. It'd be messy, noisy, and my saw would probably not want to do anything else. Next, we're cutting down the shelves, and we're going to try and get the shelves to be as big as possible. So I'm running the saw so I'm as close to those holes as possible, which you will see in a future clip here. There you go. You're literally right there. You're seeing it right there. To be completely honest, I'm quite impressed with myself here, with the quantity of camera angles and everything. I mean, I'm going to pause the video right here, because that's a DeWalt saw, DeWalt clamps, and a DeWalt level. I mean, I should be reaching out to DeWalt and get a bloody sponsor for this crap. So that's all the shelves cut down, and I believe the measurement came to 24 by 44. That was the actual measurement of the shelf itself. And of course, we're going to put the wheels back using the same holes as the holes the wheels came out of in the first place. I just thought of a joke, which is why I kind of had a bit of a stuttering portion there. But it's not a joke safe for YouTube, so I can't say it. Some of the more creative, dirty, and perverted minds out there watching this might know where I'm going with that joke. You know, it's a very open-ended statement. I'm assuming most of you could make the jokes yourselves. Man, that is terrible. I think of a joke and I laugh, and I tell you that I'm thinking of a joke, and then I tell you I can't say the joke. That's entertaining media right there, if I've ever seen it. I mean, what's even the point of me telling you that I have the joke if I can't actually tell you the joke? I mean, I'll give you the PG version. It had to do with sometimes it's nice to switch up the holes. What am I doing now? Oh, right, I'm being a twat. For those of you not in the loop yet, meaning that you haven't watched many of the previous videos, or the previous build videos anyway, the mites video will be the first depiction of this kind of system. I filmed this quite a while ago, as you can clearly tell, because the first video has this in the thumbnail. And this is the 20th video on the channel, so about 20 weeks ago, the enclosure was finished. So I filmed this stuff quite a while ago, and then I rough cut this video down about 2 months ago. And then I left it, I let it settle, so that the creative side of me can kind of come out, and this is what you've got. This is the limit of my creativity. It doesn't really matter what I do or say, everything that I speak is just going to be regurgitated rubbish. But back to the basics, that's why I don't really know what the hell I've been doing, and that's why when I see myself acting like a twat, I don't remember that I did it, and I comment on it. Because you've got to think about the mentality here. I set the camera up in a position to film myself doing that stupid shit. I must have been on something that night. Right, anyway, where were we? Whew. It's quite bloody warm in this joint. I mean, there's a thermostat over there. I could cool it down. I'm just being difficult. There's me 5 shelves there. Put the wheels back on. You see that? I don't think I could have got that any closer. I've made these boards as big as possible. So the next step now is doing the back boards and then doing the side panels. So I've got to rip this big bad boy all the way down there and along the top. And then I've got to do the same thing with these panels here as well. Bit off the top, bit down the side. So I'll do that now, and then the fun part of actually putting it together. We're back to cutting boards. Now we're doing the side boards, trimming those down because these things were not used with the previous snake rack that I had. I just found these pieces of wood in the shop, and now we've got a full piece. Is that a full piece? I don't know, it's a big piece. Oh, did you see that? Imagine what was going through my head 2 or 3 months ago whenever I rough cut this thing to slow-mo that. That I like. Let's watch that again. Gorgeous. And of course, because I'm a gentleman and a very respectable, clean gentleman, I clean up after myself. So all in all, I think the production of this thing, So all in all, the building of this thing took me 3 nights. Obviously, there's some video magic going on here, so it looks like it's all been done one time. Actually, I think I've been wearing different sweaters throughout this entire thing. So that's probably giving it away, if you even noticed it. Now, if you remember when we built the snake rack together, our first bonding experience, our first date even. I mean, I remember it well. I have dreams about it sometimes. I'm usually wet when I wake up from those dreams. It's a good idea to pre-drill melamine boards because the material is kind of shiny, has a shiny surface. So when you're screwing, it has a tendency to move and not go where you want it to go. So if at all possible, pre-drilling just makes your life a little bit easier. I do know for a fact that that's the only side that I pre-drilled on because my drill bit broke. A little off topic here, but in a previous video, I spoke about getting more roaches. And as you can see from either this side or this side, whatever I end up going with, I've purchased more. Now I've got more than what I've just shown you. I didn't think about filming this till I'd already housed most of them, but I spent $600 on roaches. So we will be building a roach castle in the near future, so keep your eyes open for that. Alright, so the quadplex is beginning to take shape now. We've got the actual exterior skeleton. It just looks like a closet at the moment, which apparently my dumbass decided to stand in. Lift with your back, Matt. Lift with your back. Lifting with your knees is for cowards. So I've got a few finishing touches to deal with now, a little bit more of the finessey stuff. So here is the finished unit itself with our 1, 2, 3, 4 levels, henceforth quadplex. So the backboard of this bugger is 3/4 inch thick. The side panels and the shelves themselves are 1/2 inch thick because that's just the material that I had left. I would have preferred to have done it in 3/4 or 5/8, and this is the reason why we get splitting. The screws going into the side, they're just too thick and they split. Now I pre-drilled all these holes as well, so I'm going to have to put some L brackets in to give it a little bit more structural support. And then we're going to have to do some heavy cleaning because this is from previous heat tape. It does come off, but it's going to take a little bit of work, a little bit of elbow grease. I mean, you really do have to wonder what was going through my mind when I filmed this and when I rough cut this a number of months ago now, to where I thought you guys would give a flying fuck about me cleaning glue. Or, I mean, at least you can see that I'm disinfecting and I'm cleaning the bloody thing. Oh, and now we're corking it, so we're actually doing something useful and showing you something useful. Corking enclosures, especially on melamine material like that, because if water gets into the actual fibers of the melamine, it's going to separate, and then it's going to kind of fall apart in the long run. You're providing a fail-safe barrier at the end, at the end. If the water gets through our water resistant stuff that we're going to be doing later on in a separate video, then it has that corking to kind of be that last barrier of defense. Obviously, if it gets through that corking, it's a bit of a pain in the arse. So make sure, if you are doing an enclosure like this, to cork those joints generously. Don't skimp on corking. Pay the extra few dollars for an extra tube of corking so that we don't have to deal with that problem later on and have our lovely quadplex deteriorate on us. We put all this money and work in. Let's not have it fall apart on us. So that's pretty much it for the basic skeleton of this enclosure here that you are currently sitting on. In the previous build videos, what I did was I did a part 1, part 2, and even a part 3 when it came to Greta and Gabby's portion of the build. So what I'd like to do instead, kind of give you a better idea as to how it goes from step to step. We're gonna have this video, which was the skeleton, the next video, which will be the hardware, let's say, and then the following 4 videos will be the decorating of each one. So we'll do the top enclosure, let's say. We'll do the background, we'll decorate it, we'll do the substrate. So we'll do the front, the doors, and the paneling, and then we'll house the animal. And that will be video, let's say, 1. And then we'll do video 2, which will be the same thing, but with the second animal, third animal, fourth animal. I think that would be a pretty cool idea to kind of go from beginning to end for each one of those enclosures. But that's going to be it for this video. See you next time.